Massive, swollen lake now covers everything not encircled by a protective barrier. Farmland, highways, and homesteads are engulfed by the rising Red River. Communities like St. Adolphe, St. Agathe, Emerson, Dominion City, and Rosenort are evacuated, save those emergency workers left behind to guard the dikes. Near Morris, coverage so sweeping by the Red River, it's referred to as Lake Morris. Near Brunkild, construction continues. Near Letellier, farmers have deposited their equipment on the highest ground available. To date, the barriers are bent but not broken. Each community in the valley braces for the river's quest and hopes that the victory of Drayton, North Dakota against the Red River is an indication of things to come. Meanwhile, further north, the floodway and the city of Winnipeg await.
And we're back here at City Hall. We're no longer in the bowels of City Hall. I think it's
a good idea here of what kind of action we're seeing at the floodway. As interesting as it may look, folks, we are inviting you to keep watching our pictures, the pictures that are being provided to you by Cable 11, as opposed to coming down and checking out the scene for yourself here at the floodway. They've got enough people trying to work around the clock and solidifying things here. They don't need any more traffic and added people in the vicinity. We're told that in a couple of hours there will be some provincial and city officials that will get together for a meeting and assess the present situation, and we'll try and get news from that meeting for you a little bit later.
As the helicopter swings back to the east, back to the red, more evidence of its ability to swallow what it meets. St. Adolphe is being protected by its dike, but around it, the situation is grim. As we move further north, closer to Winnipeg and its now revered floodway, the water appears to be picking its spots, washing over some homes, leaving others high and dry. But the crest is nearly a week away. Flying over the floodway, the contrast is sharp. From the air, you still have to look closely to see evidence of the lake building below. The river remains within its banks. Traffic and people continue to move on the streets. But as you look back, from Winnipeg toward the south, it's as if Winnipeg has suddenly been moved to the edge of a massive lake. A lake that's pressing slowly but surely north.
It was an awesome sight and one I won't soon forget. When we come back, we will update the situation here, talk to someone from the site, and we'll show you some images that all of us have found hard to forget in the last week or so. That's still to come tonight on 24 Hours.
Fact of life when you live in Manitoba.
Water levels will rise more rapidly than originally.
Going up really fast.
All the work?
That access could be cut off.
There's people losing their homes everywhere.
This is a parent's nightmare.
It's almost like a wartime spirit.
what comes, comes, and we're prepared.
This is going to be the flood of the century.
So sweeping by the Red River, it's referred to as Lake Morris. Near Brunkild, construction continues. Near Letellier, farmers have deposited their equipment on the highest ground available. To date, the barriers are bent but not broken. Each community in the valley braces for the river's quest and hopes that the victory of Drayton, North Dakota against the Red River is an indication of things to come. Meanwhile, further north, the floodway and the city of Winnipeg await.
Okay, we're here at the Forks. Please state your names and what you guys do.
I'm Suzanne.
Well, clearly the people of southern Manitoba aren't focused on the election race, but on a crucial race all their own. Tonight, the surging Red River may be close to cresting at Emerson, right near the U.S. border. And for now, there is reason for hope. We begin with CBC's Jeffrey Kaufman and a survey of the situation in the south.
So far, it is holding. The Red River at Emerson is a staggering 13 meters higher than normal, higher than it's ever been. It's too soon to call this the crest, but in the last day, water levels haven't gone up. Emerson sits on the U.S. border. As the crest of the swollen red lurches north, it is the first Canadian town in its path. Behind the earthen dikes, Emerson feels like a medieval walled city under siege. All that remain are emergency crews frantically monitoring dikes and patrolling the empty town. A herd of skittish deer have taken refuge here too. To all, the enemy is water, and for now, Emerson is winning.
Just looking so good. We have no major problems with the diking system whatsoever. If there was any possible problems there, I wouldn't feel so confident, but there just isn't any at this moment.
The flood crest may be here, but that won't be certain for a few days. That crest seems to have passed to neighboring American towns, and around here it is comforting to know that their dikes have held.
Pembina and St. Vincent are both dry, and it looks like they're cresting there, so that's another community that has withstood the ravages of the red again.
Even if this is the crest, the highest the river's going to get, it doesn't mean the trouble here in Emerson is over yet. Go. A tour of town makes that very clear. These soldiers are on erosion detail, trying to sandbag the dikes faster than the river washes them away.
The next couple days will be crucial for us. We have to wait till the water subsides and get some of the pressure off the dikes there.
On the other side of the water line, it'll be firm here, firm there, and where it's soft, that's where the gopher hole is.
Okay. That's right, gophers. They've joined the assault on the dike. The counter-assault is a job for the Canadian Coast Guard.
Right now we've got gophers burrowing holes in the bottom of the dike here. It's causing leaks on the inside. So we're finding the spots and place some bags over top.
And there is yet another assailant on its way tomorrow. Wind. That means waves on the Red Sea and a harsh battering for all those muddy dikes. And the wind could push the crest even higher. It's not over yet. Jeffrey Kaufman, CBC News, Emerson, Manitoba.
And more dread in Winnipeg as people in that area wait for the worst. But they're not just waiting, of course. There is a desperate push on to finish a new dike to the city's southwest. It's an effort to prevent the water from making an end run into Winnipeg. And as Red Sharon reports, people are hoping against hope it will hold.
The
It's about the largest construction project in southern Manitoba right now. Hundreds of pieces of machinery crawl over prairie landscape like mechanical insects in a race against time. It's a tall order. 3 days to build 26 kilometers of dike. Normally, a construction project this size could take up to 3 months to complete. So, just in case this dike fails, at least 8,000 homeowners have been told to get ready to leave at a moment's notice.
I'll be right behind you, okay?
At St. Norbert's Seniors Home, they're not waiting. Almost 100 seniors, many of them very frail, were moved out this morning.
You're okay there now.
Bill Bacon is driving his wife Jane up north himself.
Well, they're doing the only thing they can. It's a safety measure, I guess.
During the big flood of 1950, Gordon Coots of Manitoba Health says this area was under 5 meters of water.
By doing it now, it reduces the amount of panic at a later stage should there be a crisis.
Because you've seen how high it can get here.
Yeah, oh yeah, it can come really in here, you know, really high.
Across the street, they're cleaning out the fridge and loading up the dryer. And they're all wondering the same thing. Can a dike built in just 3 days hold back the water?
I'm sure they did their best, but like they said, you know, they should have had 3 months and they had 3 days, so yeah. We hope it holds. We hope it holds. Eh?
People are hoping the weather holds too, but down at the weather office they say don't count on it.
Seeing unsettled weather, precipitation every once in a while, and towards the middle of next week, this weather pattern is actually signaling a change to that pattern, and by Tuesday we're expecting another weather system to come through, probably a first of many.
More rain means an even higher river. More water may be okay for returning ducks and geese, but animals that have just come through a brutally cold winter are in trouble. Deer are struggling in freezing water. Many are killed when escaping traffic and animals collide. And unfortunately, they're on their own.
Something like this is catastrophic, very quick, and really there isn't anything that you can do.
As many as 1,000 deer could be lost. Some farm animals haven't fared much better. These calves died after being trapped in freezing water. These 18,000 laying hens were rescued by their owner just in time. And time is ticking back at the Brunkeel dike. The big question is, what will come first? The completion of the dike or the arrival of the red? Red Sharon, CBC News, near Brunkeel, Manitoba.
The engineer in charge of this operation is Larry Whitney. For many Manitobans, he has become the face of this flood. Earlier, I asked him if the dike will be done in time.
Well, we've got 160 pieces of heavy equipment working on it today, and we expect to finish it by tomorrow night. But we'll keep working as long as the weather conditions and the water levels let us to augment that protection.
And once it's done, will it be high enough, particularly if it keeps raining?
Well, we're not expecting very much rain over the next 5 days, but rain actually has fallen the last few days, which has kind of set us back about 24 hours. But we expect to finish it by tomorrow night, and we're going to add as long as we can to it.
What if the dike isn't enough? What if it fails? Then what?
Well, you know, then we're facing, depending on the type of failure and where along this 40 kilometers it fails, we could be facing a fairly serious situation. So, in fact, 24-hour standby evacuation notices have been issued for several towns below there, and also for the south part of Winnipeg, a community called St. Norbert.
What kind of damage could we be talking about?
Well, again, at this point, we really can't assess. We're working to assess what the potential levels might be, but at this point, we don't have that information. We're just working around the clock to provide the protection and hope it holds.
I understand it must be crazy there, but has everything been done that needs to be done? Are people as safe as they could be under the situation?
Well, you know, the level of protection actually varies somewhat. The valley towns, we're fairly confident. There's 8 communities that have ring dikes around them, and we're fairly confident that those will hold. Outside of those communities, however, there's about 3,500 residences or farmsteads that have varying levels of protection. Now, some of those protection facilities that were provided by sandbags have actually failed. So we've had about a 25% failure rate to date on the sandbag dikes south of Winnipeg.
Well, all the best in your efforts, Mr. Whitney. Thanks for talking to us tonight.
Thank you very much, Wendy.
Coming up on Sunday Report.
I think that it is totally unnecessary at this point.
More on Election 97.
You weren't even going to do that, and left a path of destruction behind it.
It's come so fast that the cattle didn't want to leave, and so this is the only high spot we had. They sat out in the water all night.
And some of the calves drowned?
Yeah.
The water came that fast?
It did, yeah. Come up about 2 feet and a half an hour. Well, we knew it was coming, but I didn't know it would be coming this fast, because the guys come here and they started loading the corn out, and it just hit like that about 5:30, 6 o'clock at night.
This much water is not something that people here are used to seeing, is it?
No, definitely not. We've had a lot of water here in 50, they tell me, and 79, but that's all erased. The year we're looking at now is 97. Everything else is history.
And after it leaves towns like Rosenfeld, this history-making runoff will be headed north up the Red River.
That same fast-rising water meant that farmers who thought their grain and livestock was safe had to move it out on short notice. Here is one such farmer.
I phoned the PFRA to give me a level on my dikes to see if I was safe or not. So I was going to be a foot and a half short.
When did you find that out?
Yesterday at noon. Whoa! I didn't know what to do. It was, should I just not do it, and then I might be sorry than the water. Well, I was afraid that there'd be no roads left.
Islands ring dikes their shores. From above, it seems almost illogical. A massive, swollen lake now covers everything not encircled by a protective barrier. Farmland, highways, and homesteads are engulfed by the rising Red River. Communities like St. Adolphe, St. Agathe, Emerson, Dominion City, and Rosenort are evacuated, save those emergency workers left behind to guard the dikes. Near Morris, coverage so sweeping by the Red River, it's referred to as Lake Morris. Near Brunkild, construction continues. Near Letellier, farmers have deposited their equipment on the highest ground available. To date, the barriers are bent but not broken. Each community in the valley braces for the river's quest and hopes that the victory of Drayton, North Dakota against the Red River is an indication of things to come. Meanwhile, further north, the floodway and the city of Winnipeg await.
Okay, we're here at the Forks. Please state your names.
Red River, just in the Kildonans, on Edgewood Estates, actually Wellams Lane, just off Henderson Highway. With me here now is Sophie. She's the manager, the on-site manager of this building. Now, Sophie, tell me a bit about last week. We had sandbags here. We had the residents down building a dike. An excellent job of teamwork, and now I see we have dirt here instead. Tell me a bit about how the city changed the plan.
Well, initially the city called me and said, we're delivering 10,000 sandbags to you, and we did. We constructed the dike as they requested, and then last week they phoned us and said, we're removing the sandbags and we're bringing you a dirt dike, and this will be a permanent dike. So we're actually very pleased that we do have this dike, the permanent one. I was initially a little upset when they took the sandbags away, but in hindsight, this will be permanent, and I'm really pleased.
And better for everybody.
Oh, for sure, absolutely.
Now you have a lot of seniors here. We have what, about 1,000 people in total living here?
That's a good estimate. There's almost 500 units here with approximately 2 per unit. So we do have a lot of residents here. The majority are seniors, and we also have a 2-tier underground parking with approximately 600 cars.
So now these seniors, they don't have to worry now about being evacuated, or is it a 50-50, or should they feel that no, they're safe and they won't have to leave their homes during this problem?
Well, I had spoken to someone from the city of Winnipeg, and they've assured me that we are quite safe where we are, and presently all we're doing is capping our lower level for the sewers, and we should be fine.
Great, that's great. I'm Lynn Power here for Sean Video on Cable 11, Floodwatch 97, and now Dick's up on the roof actually on one of the buildings right beside us.
On the roof of Edgewood Estates in East Kildonan, we just thought we'd give you a different view of the red today in the city of Winnipeg. It's not just a bad hair day, it's a great day to continue the sandbagging efforts. A little cool, a little blustery out there, but the city, when you take a look at it now, looks pretty normal. Things look pretty average. But when we take a look at the Red River, as it meanders its way north past the city of Winnipeg, we're taking a look now at the red as it approaches the turn by Scotia Street. And this is the area that gets it first coming past the city. We're looking at the area through Kildonan Park, Rainbow Stage there in your picture, and the area opposite, of course, Fraser's Grove. We're on the approach to the swinging bridge, which you've seen many times here on our Cable 11 coverage from our camera atop Martins. This is a view from the opposite direction, and this view here gives you a look at the rising water on the bridge itself. As I mentioned, we're standing atop the property of Edgewood Estates, and this is originally a piece of property that was going to be protected by sandbags, but because the urgent need came out for some sandbags elsewhere, the city came, collected the sandbags, and is now in the process of putting finishing touches on the earth dike that you see. The earth dike has been raised to what will be a protection level of 3 feet above flood levels, forecasted flood levels. Our crews down there just trying to evaluate and assess where they want to put some top up or whatever. The plan is originally now to take the dike system completely to the edge of the property toward the Chief Peguis Bridge. What we're looking at right now is a view of Kildonan Golf Course, and you golfers out there who have no problems with water hazards, this is a golfer's mecca. And of course, after the flood, I dare say a lot of our golf courses will have some new sand traps. It's not like we won't have sand. We're looking towards the area of Middle Church past Chief Peguis Bridge as we continue our look now to the northwest, and coming around to the north we see the area of the red. And this Red River here now, of course, flowing towards East and West St. Paul. You folks in there, great job. We're continuing on up there today, and we just want you to know that this is the view of what's happening in the city as we speak. From atop the property in Edgewood Estates, this is Dick Reeves, plugged in. Flood 97 coverage on Cable 11, a joint effort of both Shaw and Videon Cable. And don't think...
We're now here and we're looking at the construction, and it seems to be going along as planned. So we feel that that's coming along well, and we believe that it's going to be completed in time. Everything that we've seen reinforces the fact that the dikes are well constructed and they appear to be to the right levels. We're now getting a bit of a leveling out of the peak coming through, and we still feel that the preparations have been adequate. Well, I think the city also believes that this dike will hold, but they're just doing it out of an abundance of caution. We still believe that this dike is adequately constructed and it will hold. They are using roadways, obviously, because that's the quickest way of having a solid base, and it may look slim from the air, but it's being done to proper design, and been constructed hastily, so we can't be 100% sure, but it looks pretty secure. We'll have to wait and hope for the best. This is done in temporary circumstances. It's obviously an emergency construction that is needed because this height of land could be breached by the expected levels that were predicted for the Red and Morris River systems. And we are doing this to avoid hundreds of, well, maybe tens of millions of dollars for sure of damage. So I think everybody understands that. I haven't heard from somebody who says, you know, because of my land, I would want to flood out thousands of people. I haven't heard that from one person.
And that was Premier Gary Filmon earlier there at the Zed Dike in Brunkhild. Everybody seems quite optimistic that this dike will hold, and we had a very good test today with those winds.
Yeah. The thing that people have to understand is, and people are saying, where are they getting the soil? Where's this coming from? And what has to be understood is the Brunkhild dike is built out of what dikes are supposed to be made from. This is not like topsoil. This stuff doesn't get washed away, and it doesn't just blow away like the wind does to a lot of topsoil, you know, when you get that massive erosion. This is good old Manitoba sludge. This is in there, you know. I mean, like, we should have this in a horseshoe pit, this stuff. No, this is serious stuff, and this is going to stay. The question is that, I mean, who can talk about compromise? Because who knows exactly what's going to happen exactly.
Each spring, as snowfall turns to rain, the Red River emerges from its frozen stillness. Beneath its icy cap lies a sleeping torrent, waiting to emerge. Drop by drop, trickle by trickle, clouds of snow that have covered the landscape melt and make their way to the river. Unchecked, the results can be devastating. The year was 1950. Television had yet to make its way to Winnipeg. The city was growing. 400,000 people already called it home. Residents had looked forward to that spring. It had been a harsh winter, cold with lots of heavy snow. It certainly became a spring to remember. Built at the confluence of two rivers, the city had seen its share of flooding, but it had been nearly a century since spring runoff hit the kinds of levels that the 1950 thaw brought.
Well, I remember very well in 1950 how badly the city of Winnipeg was hit by the great flood of that day. Because I had the opportunity to walk around in it. I was active in sandbagging before to protect St. Boniface Hospital, and I remember taking a canoe and canoeing through parts of the flooded city.
It was disaster on a grand scale. The Red River spilled over its banks. At its peak, it was 24 feet above normal. The only way to travel on what had been busy downtown streets was by boat. Fully 1/8 of greater Winnipeg was underwater, and thousands had to be evacuated. Although the city responded and neighbor helped neighbor, there was little to do but wait for the water to go down. When it did, damages totaled more than $75 million. Clearly, something had to be done to keep it from happening again. And that something came in the form of a plan from provincial engineers. Duff Roblin was Premier of Manitoba in the 60s when plans for the floodway were drafted.
The study made it perfectly clear that the most practical solution was really to double the river capacity through Winnipeg by building a floodway around it.
At first, the floodway had seemed a daft idea to Roblin's opponents. They called it Duff's Folly. A new idea.
Yes, as a matter of fact, it wasn't universally agreed that we should do this. Some people thought this was a great waste of money. In fact, I think the phrase used at the time was the floodway's Roblin's Folly. Well, it turned out it was that was not the case. I rather like the name Duff's Ditch. I think that's a much better way of looking at it.
It took 10 years to construct the floodway, and it ranked second only to the Panama Canal in its scale as an earth-moving project. The floodway is designed solely to protect the city of Winnipeg from major flooding caused by spring runoff.
The floodway control structure is operated to divert part of the flow around the city while letting part of the flow through the city. The different gate elevations that we use during a flood really just determine how much flow goes around in the floodway and how much goes through the city of Winnipeg.
Those gates are in the river channel. When you hear that the floodway is being opened, what's really happening is that the lower part of the river is being closed off. Water backs up and spills into the floodway. There are a number of factors to consider when deciding just how high those gates should go.
Well, how much water is coming at us from upstream, certainly. What the safe elevations in the city are. How much water is coming in the Assiniboine River and the other tributaries. Upstream, we are limited to raising water levels upstream to what they would be in a state of nature, what they would be if the floodway had never been constructed.
The floodway not only helps drop the water level, it also slows the river down. The gates are adjusted several times a day to make sure that people who live in the area immediately upstream from the floodway aren't artificially flooded. The floodway isn't put to use until most of the river ice is gone.
Well, certainly ice is a concern in our initial operation. We don't want to operate when there's ice in the river upstream of the structure because we don't want to cause ice to enter the floodway channel proper and create jamming at the bridges. The bridges are designed for some ice pressures, but not to the extent that they would be if the bridges were across the river, like the Red River. So that's one consideration, but our major consideration is we don't want to create ice jams in the structure, and then we would have no ability to divert water around the floodway, and our only option would be to let more water go through the city of Winnipeg and perhaps cause flooding in the city. There's a lip and a transition zone that extend across the upstream side of the floodway for about 1,000 feet. It's 7 feet higher than the bottom of the floodway channel. And if you would see the structure or the floodway in operation in the springtime, you would see water impinging upon that lip and the ice impinging upon that lip. And it's just an earthen transition zone. It's an earthen transition zone that's designed to keep the ice out of the channel. It can't get over that lip.
Crews are able to operate the floodway within 2 to 10 hours of the ice going out. Even blasting the ice with dynamite wouldn't speed up the process. The water would still need somewhere to go, and that can't happen if there's an ice pack north of Winnipeg. In that respect, floodway operators still have to wait for Mother Nature to take her course. Virtually since the construction of the floodway, there have been those who blame it for upstream flooding.
You know, I certainly understand their perception of things because when we operate the floodway, the waters upstream of the inlet structure, they do go up. But what I try to explain to them and to have them realize is that they only go up to that water level that would have occurred had the floodway never been built.
And some even blame it for floods that happen downstream.
We've had complaints from as far downstream as Selkirk and Breezy Point that when we operate the floodway, you know, a few hours later there's ice jamming in that area causing them severe floods, such as occurred in 1995 and 1996. Well, the fact of the matter is that the floodway doesn't manufacture any water. All it does, the control structure simply is operated to divide the flow between the floodway channel and the river through the city. Downstream of Lockport, once the floodway re-enters the river, there's the same amount of water in the river at that point than had it gone all the way through the city of Winnipeg. So the floodway certainly doesn't do anything to increase the potential for ice jams in the Selkirk and Breezy Point areas.
To some extent, it's a matter of perspective.
We have a horn on the structure, and before we operate, we blow the horn, and you can hear it for miles. And then we operate, and people do see the water level rise. What they don't see is to what level would the water level have risen had the floodway never been in existence. Now, we could lower water levels upstream by not operating the gates or by operating them to a lower elevation, but it would be at the expense of water levels in the city and flooding in the city of Winnipeg.
It's something that some people living right before the floodway have come to terms with.
Well, there's a lot of pros and cons about the floodway, and we think different than the engineers, but I believe this, that the floodway was built to protect 500,000 people, and that's the job it's doing. But they kind of forgot about the people upstream here for the last 7 or 10 miles and using us as a reservoir. All I would say that if we can take the capacity, I'm sure glad I didn't hear the horn blow yesterday or today, and because as soon as they lift the gates, we are going to get more water here. But If they lowered the gates, it would run through 23 feet through the city. We're real happy with the city, with the service that they give us. They give us the levels here, and they've always been really good to us. But this year they were just a little more prepared, and we really appreciate it.
There are things that the floodway can and cannot do, and unfortunately, it is not the answer to all of the city's flooding problems.
We've had some people say that if you remove the lip, then you could operate the structure in the summertime in case of heavy rains like happened in 1993. First of all, the floodway channel itself, you need about 35,000 cubic feet per second flowing in the river before it reaches the lip of the floodway. At 40,000 cubic feet per second, the floodway is pretty well entirely drowned out. That lip, you wouldn't even know if you were looking at it, you wouldn't even know it existed. The highest flow we've ever had in the city of Winnipeg in the summertime has been 35,000 CFS. It hasn't really caused a lot of problems in the city, but there has been this perception that the basement flooding problems that occurred in 1993 during those severe rainstorms were because we didn't operate the floodway.
Water that ends up in people's basements never got to the river in the first place. The floodway doesn't cause, nor can it prevent, basement flooding. Knowing what being flooded is like continues to inspire some city residents to lend a hand to those the floodway does not protect.
In 1950, I took a motorboat into the King George Hospital, tied it to the banister, and stepped off onto the fourth stair, going to the second floor. Well, we were patrolling for looters. Yes, Duff's Ditch was a godsend.
The floodway cost $63 million to build, and it has paid for itself many times over.
Over the years, the floodway was first operated in 1969. Since that time, it's saved over $1 billion worth of damages in the city of Winnipeg. The benefits, in addition to the dollars saved, is the anxiety to people and the disruption to people's lives that would occur if we had a situation that reoccurred like we had in 1950, where a quarter of the population of the city of Winnipeg was evacuated.
Well, I think we have to remember that it's not really solely a Winnipeg problem. It's a provincial problem. That there's a whole of the Red River Valley that has to be considered. They can't all be protected in the same way because nature doesn't work that way. But you have to do as much as you can to make sure that everyone who's in danger gets the maximum protection that can be provided.
There we are. Now, I'll tell you something, that thing sure does meander, doesn't it? Look at that thing. Now, this is in the city. This is shot today, folks. You can see the rising water up in the center. I am not familiar with one. Yeah, that's the Kingston Crescent, Kingston Row area, folks.
Yeah.
And there's the bridge.
Drive on the left there.
Yeah.
Right where you can get your ice cream.
Jubilee coming up on your left there. There it is, just on the left of the picture. And you Kingston Row residents, look at that. Dry. Good news. Incidentally, too, I was talking to a gentleman who knows the physics of the river and the way it runs. Obviously, the side of the river on the far side is where the debris and what have you go. He says we're in pretty good shape for the most part. Look at the floodway there where it comes in off the red. And we're going to take a look. Well, we had pictures from the opposite in there earlier today.
Sure doesn't look as powerful from up here, but. Whew.
Well, I'll tell you, that's the entrance isn't blowing as hard as the exit is down there above Lockport.
Sure.
Unbelievable. Take a look at the floodway. In some of the footage you're going to be seeing here in a few minutes, actually over the course of the next while, because this will be edited as well. We have some of the latest pictures from the town of Morris, and I think you folks who have been evacuated from Morris are going to feel pretty good about what you're going to see. There's Turnbull Drive right there. You can see the dike that was built there. They're holding up very well. There we have.
No, that looks like it's doing well.
That one there is little water on the inside there. That's just that's a private dike around the home, bit of water on the inside, but not as high as the actual level itself of the river.
The Red Sea.
The Red Sea.
Wow.
Now, if we only had Moses to park that out of there, we'd be laughing.
That's right.
This here, let me just take a look and see what we recognize. Is this St. Norbert?
I'm not sure where it is. Still some snow though.
Yeah,
wow.
A lot of snow still around there. See the dike that's built there by the road, holding back just fine there.
Yeah.
Again, these aerial shots are courtesy of the provincial government and the Emergency Measures Organization. A ring dike around the home that's been compromised a little bit there.
Again, these shots were taken by Kim Bell of Mid-Canada Video Services. These were shot today. Okay.
Yeah, the highway along the front that we were looking at a few minutes ago, Highway 75 at St. Adolphe. And here we're watching the, I'll tell you something, what's hard to believe is there's a river underneath there, but you just can't, you can't distinguish it from anything else.
Yeah, it sure looks like a lake, it's true.
Yeah. Again, a reminder for those of you who are evacuees from Morris, we do have some footage coming up from your community, and we'll be taking a look at that a little bit later, hopefully before the end of our broadcast tonight. This video we're looking at, we're not going to be able to see the whole thing because we have about nearly 25 minutes of it. And there you can see the train trestle, train bridge. Rail cars on there to give it that extra stability. Ladies and gentlemen, we apologize that we can't give you the information on every one of these communities because we're not exactly familiar with what everything. It's hard to recognize without landmarks, if you know what I mean. We're not used to having this many islands in Manitoba.
Wow. We have about another minute of this, and we'll be coming back to it a bit later. In the meantime, we'll be going to Kelly Parker at City Hall. Looks amazing, doesn't it, Dick?
Just imagine, yeah, this is south of Winnipeg. You have an idea of what's going on south of the cities. If this is your community, water hazard. If this is your community, then you recognize it and you can see where your property is in relationship to our shots, then hopefully this is going to help you out there tonight.
And we apologize we don't quite have the...
For the most part, they're high and dry, and that's the good news. Dikes are holding, and there you have it. And keep in mind, anything south of Winnipeg bore the brunt of our 40-kilometer-an-hour winds we had today, and there was a lot of concern about winds we're going to do, whether they were going to compromise any of the land dikes. We're going to be showing you a lot more from this video. This is a long video. There's a lot of video left here. We're going to be editing this for you up, and you'll be having an identification as to what communities are. So we'll be showing more of that, and hopefully you've recognized your town and maybe a piece of your property high and dry. That's what we're hoping here tonight.
The dike height, this is something that was mentioned, I think, during the news conference, something that I heard earlier, an increase in the dike height. I believe one of the areas was Kilkenny, maybe some of the other areas, you'll correct me if I'm wrong, of something like 4 feet. Now, is that 4 feet correct?
Well,
Again,
that's almost hearsay. That's just something I heard and something I thought I picked up.
Okay.
So.
Again, the concern here is that the floodway structure, which is right here, it's a black line, somewhat confusing to the perimeter, but it's this line right here. This is the floodway. The problem that will occur is that the water will come to the north of the floodway structure. So we can't deal with this water because it will be bypassing the structure itself.
Right.
The computer models that they have run and all the hydraulics that they can figure out still cannot give us yet an exact increase in the effect that it will have as it re-enters the river. It's something that they've been talking about all day. I've been in some of those meetings. It's a real unknown factor. So on the safety side, we're going out saying, wow, 2 to 4 feet, let's go for 4. It's a big task, and I know that residents are, we drop off another 1,000 or 2,000 sandbags. They're going, oh, not again, not another 2 feet, not another 6 inches. Now we're saying 4. I know that can be unnerving, but we don't know what the impact will be yet at this time. But we really have to take a step back. All this is based on this failing.
Exactly.
No one knows whether this is going to fail.
Okay, now
there is no percentages of success or failure. It's something that daily they'll have to see how much water comes up against it, what kind of wave action comes up against it, and we just want to be secure, because it was mentioned in the press conference, we're talking about the water going from here to here in 4 to 6 hours. That's too close of a call for us.
Now I think and that in itself is an alarming statistic, 4 to 6 hours to cross all of that area. I think we should probably reassure people that that would be it's not going to be like a wall of water coming towards Winnipeg. It's just going to be a creeping up of the water quickly, yes. But that in itself could create some fears. It's not going to be like a wall of water.
Well, right now the water is, and I haven't heard yet today where it's at in relation to the dike itself. And people will be evacuated before it's even a foot or 2 up this dike. I believe it's a 1 foot up the elevation. Surely they've gone up about 8-10 feet in some of these locations. 1 foot's not going to bring it down. So we're evacuating them well before any potential of this dike breaking. So there's no fear that it's going to happen tonight. In fact, we are sure that this will not break, if it ever were to, until we've even completed this other dike, the St. Norbert dike, that will go along here and up to the Brady landfill. We're hoping that we're going to be able to complete this to protect the community, but it's still something we're not sure about.
Now, what is the timeline again on the St. Norbert dike? Are you, when is that one, this one right here, when is that one projected to be completed?
In the news conference, I believe there was a reference to 2 to 3 days, but again, that's an unknown, because we do want to sort of be building this at the same time we're doing some evacuation. So we don't want to get in the way. We want people to feel calm and secure that, holy smokes, there's all these trucks, I can't get out, and they may panic. So trucks will be coming in from different routes and trying to build this up as quick as possible, but also first making sure that we secure the area and have the evacuation completed.
Sure. I believe, I think Mr. Reynolds during the news conference said it best, when a lot of people might be angry that this is happening now, but they'll be pretty happy if in what they think is an unlikely event of any problem with this Brunk Hill dike, they'll be very happy that they were out should there be any breach of this.
That's right.
So it's erring on the side of caution as they've done all along.
There always will be part of the population will show concern and say, why weren't we out earlier? There'll be part of the population that will say, why are we taking them out so soon? It's sort of a balanced situation, and I think there's a criteria that's been established both by the province, what they think is a safe situation, and with our city people together. They've declared that they're going to have their state of evacuation, so we thought likewise. We have the same criteria as them. We're going to go for the evacuation.
Okay. So the bottom line, once again, erring on the side of caution.
That's correct.
There is no lack of confidence whatsoever in this Brunk Hill dike, and this is all based on criterion of the province. And the reason for the second news conference today was that some criterion of the provinces under their jurisdiction had been met, and the city then just logically will follow suit. So the reason the news conference was held was not out of any sort of urgent situation, something that had necessarily changed.
That's correct. And I think when people hear the word criteria, they think that's a real technical or stuffy terminology. In the sense of criteria, the criteria is always the water. The water in relation to the dike, the water in relation to the secondary dikes in the city. That's the criteria, the water in relation to the diking systems. It's not a criteria right now on properties that could be lost or damage that could incur, or property or land that would be flooded, or definitely there's no criteria in the potential for loss of life. That's nowhere near in our discussion. Criteria is in relation to water on the dikes.
Now, once again, because of this unusual timing of this news conference tonight, we've explained why that happened.
Yes.
You can reassure the viewers then and people around Winnipeg that everything is still happening step by step, pretty much as it was expected. These people now who are being given those mandatory evacuation notices were aware, have certainly been aware all along, and they've had information they've been preparing. This is only an official notice.
That's correct.
Now.
Yes, they received their first notice on Saturday of the potential and to be on alert that they may be asked for a 24-hour evacuation. And also Councillor Anglis has been very helpful in also providing additional information to those residents. So they've been well informed. Maybe in some cases they've heard a bit too much and they're getting confused, but they can certainly be assured that this evening, if they have not yet received notices in this area, they will receive them shortly, within the hour. Everybody else over here in other parts of the city that have not received a notice saying the word mandatory and has a date or a time on it, there's no fears.
Okay, well thanks. Randy Hull, who is...
Actually, Randy, if I could ask you a question before you get away there. I understand, if I'm correct, that the Brunkhill Dike has been extended from the 25-mile to 40 miles, is that correct?
I haven't heard that. That's the actual dike itself is constructed and the construction is administered and supervised by the province of Manitoba.
So then you figure it's still at 25 miles then?
Well, that's the latest I've heard. I've never heard of any...
25 kilometers, I believe.
Yeah, that's right, kilometers. That's the other thing that some of the public are concerned about, is that some of the figures that we give are in the metric. We say that the water is within 2 feet of a 2-meter dike. We're hoping that both the province and ourselves can help balance those terminologies, but we don't want to change them on anybody because they know what they are.
Okay, and also, do you have any idea when the water will hit the Brunkhill Dike?
The indications that I had heard that it would be sometime over the next 24 hours. But again, that's an issue of the province, and they would have the latest details because the forecasts have changed somewhat today and over the days. So give them a call, and hopefully they can give you a correct answer.
But I would imagine that they would have a window. That is all based on all of those changing conditions. That you know, whether we get winds, whether we get some rain, I would imagine that the anticipated arrival of the water at that Brunkhill Dike, they have a sort of a window of arrival. They can't say roughly midnight, but they're probably maybe a 48-hour period, depending on what conditions occur.
Yeah,
right?
it's correct. There could have been maybe some water near the dike today because of the south wind blowing the water up a bit. But once the wind stops, it'll recede a bit. But to be truthful, I don't know where it's at in relation to the
Randy,
dike.
Exactly.
Dick Reeves here at the studio.
For a higher elevation above sea level. In fact, the water will not take a direct path exactly like this nice little drawn up arrow, but really if it fails at any point along here, it will eventually just be a smooth wall that will come across. It's not going to be a nice little sharp point. It'll just be a flow of water that will come up through here and through here.
Okay, well, I dare say you got a lot of concerned citizenry. One more thing, you mentioned the evacuation, and Kelly, maybe you can help me with this also on your press release, because we just listened to the press conference. We haven't received the actual press release yet from City Hall. 2,350 families, a few businesses, what, 30 businesses?
2,354 homes and 30 businesses.
Do they have a total on how many people that is, or roughly how many, counting men, women, and children? Is that at what, 5,000 to 6,000 people?
I believe, and this isn't an official number, but I believe it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 6.
Well,
but that's just...
That's what I thought I heard at the press conference.
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, I think we've gone with a figure that may be a little low there when it was mentioned, the press conference of 6. I guess you'd have to look at the demographics of the area. I'm not exactly sure, but if you go to the census and what they say is an average number of people in a home, I believe it's in the range of 3. So if you take the homes and you times it by 3. But again, that's just all mathematics, and I wouldn't really want to say that it is 6. Probably closer to about 7,500.
Sure, a lot of people.
Yep.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Kelly Parker at City Hall, and I think they don't work at night. There's lights for you at night, too. And how'd you like to be how'd you like to pass some of those sandbags line to line, huh?
Actually, Jackie Friesen and I were there on Saturday, and it was quite incredible.
Passing those sandbags?
Yeah.
Get out of here. Those sandbags.
Absolutely.
What
they
a
call
woman.
super bags.
We want to say special thanks to the Emergency Measures Organization and the provincial government for giving us access to this helicopter to get you this footage. And Kim, another great shot for you.
Wow.
Look at that. There's what we're flying in. A little bit of a scrum. There's the Premier. And when he was out at Brunkhill earlier today, giving his positive affirmations of the strength of the Brunkhill dike. This is recorded earlier today. Wow. Water everywhere. Now, you know, there's talk about making this permanent.
Yeah.
So,
well, all that work taking it down would be crazy almost.
A lot of people are wondering, you know, have you been up to Scotia Street? Have you seen that?
No, actually I have not yet.
Unbelievable. And I'm going to tell you, it is the responsibility of each individual to remove those sandbags. So,
yeah, I've heard that.
I got news for you. Let's paint them.
Yeah.
Concrete them. This is unedited footage, ladies and gentlemen, of some aerial shots that were taken earlier today from Emergency Measures Organization and provincial government helicopter, and we again want to thank the government for the generosity. EMO, good job.
Also, we should thank the Army services that are out there helping people sandbag, making sure that everything is going well. That's Canadian Armed Services.
Armed Forces.
Armed Forces, thank you.
But it's dry. It's dry. We had a report earlier today about some erosion of dikes, and basically what that was more soil erosion, not so much from an actual dike surface as it was from the area leading up to it. And everything so far still doing pretty good out there. And what areas had to be shored up have been shored up, and the word is tonight that everything is holding. Good news. We're going to be looking at some footage of for the benefit of residents of Morris later on here from this aerial footage. We have a nice view of your community. So that'll be coming up here in a little bit.
Again, is that snow? It looks like snow.
Snow on the roads. Still
just
lots
a gentle reminder of our snowstorm we had about 3 weeks ago.
And when it doesn't it make you just want to holler because they say tomorrow a chance of some flurries.
Yeah, amazing.
Farmer's Almanac said that. Somebody was going nuts telling me that tonight. Farmer's Almanac. It was Lisa.
Lisa, which one?
Lisa was telling me. Aerial footage taken earlier today of the area outside of Winnipeg, the Brunkhill Dike area. We have more coming up. We earlier saw the floodway entrance area, and that's pounding, but you got to see the other end where it empties back into the red just north of Lockport. Unbelievable. And if you are going out to take a look, the best place to watch is from a distance, from the top. Do not go down to the dike areas. Do not go down to the exit to the floodway area as well.
And even stay tuned to this channel because we give you 24-hour coverage. 6,000
military people are involved here so far in southern Manitoba. 6,000 military personnel from the Canadian Armed Forces, and men and women who are, I might add, many are volunteers and have left their jobs in Toronto and Saskatchewan and Alberta and British Columbia to serve with the forces and work here in southern Manitoba. Left their job as nurses and teachers and doctors and whatever else, store clerks and controllers, auditors, and helping us here in this operation right now in southern Manitoba. And to the men and women of the Canadian Forces, thank you very much. Heavy equipment, 350 pieces of heavy equipment working on the Brunkhill Dike. And when you stop to think that in 4 days they covered 24 kilometers, that says a lot for the will of the people. 24 kilometers.
There was a lot of equipment out there just a couple of days ago. So.
350 pieces, heavy equipment.
Amazing,
earth movers, backhoes, front loaders. We had some footage earlier that we filmed earlier today aboard one of the big Cat D50s or 350s or something, some big piece of machinery. Wicked. They figure they have in 4 days moved 100,000 tons in 4 days in just this one particular area up in East Kildonan. So imagine what they've done at the Brunkhill Dike. Imagine how much is involved.
Each of those super bags at the Brunkhill Dike supposedly is about 3,000 pounds.
And you were throwing these?
I lifted them with one finger, in fact.
Amazing lady. I'll tell you, you missed your calling. Okay, and we're getting to high and dry land here. More of our area views coming up in a couple of minutes. You folks are more. Stand by. We'll be letting you see your property next. We'll be coming back to you. This is Plugged In Flood 97, 24-hour information that's presented on Cable 11, a joint effort of Shaw Cable and Videon to keep you informed. And we're back in our studios taking a look at some aerial coverage here a few seconds ago. And hey, we're heading right back to City Hall. We got the man with us again, this time with our City of Winnipeg Fire Chief.
Yes, indeed. Thanks once again, City of Winnipeg Fire Chief Barry Loch, and thanks for being here. You've been no doubt putting in some crazy hours over the last week or so as well.
The whole department has, Kelly.
When was the last time you had a day off?
For when the water does come, they'll be certainly prepared. This is a lot of busy things going on right here, so I'm just going to have to wait until we can move out of the way of some of these trucks. Can you tell me, where are we right now?
Okay, we're standing on Highway 305, east of Brunkild. That's the town that's surrounded by water. I don't know how far away it is, maybe about 15 kilometers away. Off to our north there, that's the dike we were standing on before. We're about halfway. We're about mile 9 on the dike. It extends down. You can see it here in front of us where the crews are working. And then further on down, it follows Highway 305, right out to our east. Now you can see some hydro wires out here. A little pool of water in front of it. On the other side of that, on the other side of that line, that's the Red River. That's where the flood is.
All right, tell me about what's with all these old broken down cars here?
Once again, I'm not an engineer. I don't really know why they're here. I can only hazard a guess that they're here as some sort of breakwater. If water does in fact come over Highway 305, this will slow down the wave action. Once again, that's just a guess.
Do you know who put them here?
No, I don't. You'll have to ask the engineers working on the dike.
So you just came out here and there they were?
Exactly, yeah.
How many cars are there out here?
I don't know. They're about 1.5 miles, 2 miles worth of cars, and towards the other end, they're abandoned buses.
People of Brunkild, maybe?
I don't know. I doubt it. I believe all the coordination for this is done at a much higher level.
That's incredible. I've never seen so many cars sitting out here, and I would have never thought to use that as a breakwater.
Yeah, it's a neat idea, whatever it is.
So are you ready to take us out to the dike so we can see that? Hi, we're out here at the Brunkild Dike with the RCMP and the Army. We had to have an escort to come out here, and we're going to go up a little bit closer so we can give you folks a look at what's really going on at the top of the dike. We've got people who are coming here to report to us from Time Magazine and from Maclean's, watching the dike being built by the Army. So for people looking through their local Time magazine, they're going to see that those folks are out here and shooting this. The wind is absolutely incredible out here. As you can see and probably hear the plastic flapping in the breeze. It's very, very cold. It's just biting at your fingers and toes. These guys are working pretty hard to keep this plastic down on top of this mud dike. It's quite slippery walking up that plastic, and it looks like they have to put in these metal prongs or pins to keep the plastic down. The orange mesh that you see them rolling, they put on top of the plastic to help secure it and keep it intact. And like I said, they're just really fighting the wind here, keeping everything together, working as best they can against the elements.
These soldiers are all from Ontario as well. Yeah, these soldiers working in front of you, they're all from the 2nd Regiment Royal Canadian Horse Artillery, which is in Petawawa, Ontario. They got flown out here Thursday morning, and they've been here ever since.
Where are they staying?
We're based out of Sanford, which is about 10 miles north, and as we get tasked throughout the day, we come down and help people out.
How many hours do they spend out here before they're relieved?
I don't know what their shift schedule is like now, but we're working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
I understand you're up in a helicopter today and you were looking at the water. Can you tell me what you saw?
I can briefly describe it. The city of Brunkild is about 5 miles here to our southwest, pardon me. And the water has reached the town of Brunkild, and as well, just about 2-3 miles to our south is Highway 305. On the other side of that highway, if you look down, you can see a truck going across it now. On the other side of that highway, that's the floodwater, and that's from the Red River. and it's more or less down to our southeast and extends a good 5-7 miles as far as the dike goes.
And where are we in proportion to how long the dike is?
The dike itself starts in Highway 3, which is about 4 or 5 miles here to our west, and it extends a total of 18 miles.
What part of that mileage are we in?
We're at mile 4 or 5. That's right. Yeah, it's staggering. If you take a look at the dike, it's quite a feat.
About how tall would you estimate it to be from where we are to the top of it?
Good God, I'd say it's about 3 meters. Yeah, 3-4 meters.
You think you're going to be ready when the water comes?
Absolutely. They're about 95%, 100%, parts of it 100% completed. They're ready for the water.
The guys are working really hard. They're very confident that they're going to get this dike done and completed long before the water does arrive. I'm on the Brunkhill Dike. This is Plugged In, Flood 97. This is Lisa Furster.
And move on over into the Reds, crowding in on the city within 5 hours. Out in the country, you'll see farm homes, water up against the living room, windows now over the roofs in some places. Last night, the ringed community of St. Agathe, feeling it was safe, lost its dam. Water flooded into the city. Everything is covered, over 5-6 feet of water. It is clear this Red River will go wherever it wants to go. It is already too late for thousands farming the Red River Valley. This dike around St. Agathe failed when the railway ties it was built on gave way. It's the first of the ringed dikes to completely be washed out. St. Agathe is now under at least 5 feet of water. Remember, no one in Manitoba can buy flood insurance. The personal losses are enormous. Some homeowners are still posted on their property, desperately trying to protect it. 20 Army divers are now on rescue duty.
We sent a Zodiac out this morning to rescue a family of 4, and everything went well. But unfortunately, there's still people holding out on top of their roofs and stuff like that, which later on tonight when the waters get deeper, we will be out there.
This is a breakwater that's been set up of old cars, school buses, vans. They expect by nightfall tonight, this land will already be covered. The waves will be smashing over these vehicles, and the vehicles are designed to slow down the impact of the water, so when it reaches that critical dike, the Brunkhill bunker, it will lessen the impact of the water against the dike, a precautionary measure to try and slow down the force of the mighty Red River. While these preparations an hour from Winnipeg continued at a frantic pace, those on the edge of the city are hoping their private dike line will hold.
To about the left of me here, the river is clearly in full flood stage, and to the right of me, the right-hand side of the dike, it's dry land. And the differential here is 9 feet, roughly. And if in my driveway, I'd have about 5 feet of water over my driveway, and that would be over my main floor of the house.
The dike is keeping out 9 feet of water from around these homes, but the anxiety level, well, illustrated by this home behind us. The homeowner was evacuated on Saturday noon. Saturday afternoon, he died of a heart attack. While Winnipeg braces for the fury of the Red River, the Canadian Army continues with its massive effort to protect the city. 7,000 Canadian forces are working here to help Manitoba. That's 3 times as many soldiers as we had in Bosnia, the largest deployment of Canadian troops since the Korean War. Later this hour, we're going to go inside Winnipeg and look at another army at work, the Salvation Army. That's later on 100 Huntley Street.
Well, that's incredible. To see the devastation, to see the water line rise against the house. You know, we just have to roll up our sleeves with those people who are struggling, and we've got to do something for them.
I was encouraged. CTV News had a story this morning of an anonymous gift of $10 million to help those people. Just a little encouragement in the midst of, I mean, who would have thought this could happen here?
Well, it does remind us, though, that in some cases, as we discussed yesterday, some people put their trust in silver and some in gold. And yet there's only one solid rock that can withstand the floodwaters of life, and that's Jesus Christ. And so we're going to tell you a little bit later on, Cal, and we're working hard to talk about and to develop a team that will go into that area and start cleaning up, because we're not just going to talk about it. We're not just going to bend a knee and pray for them. We're going to go there with our shovels, with our brooms, and we're going to start helping these people clean up their lives and the situation that
The Army has 7,000 soldiers deployed for the Manitoba.
Canadian military are here with boats, trucks, and tanks. And the community, like much of southern Manitoba, is on edge. Just last week, this was a field as far as the eye could see. Now it looks like an ocean. Claire Braun is the mayor of Niverville. He also runs a local restaurant and is a pastor in Winnipeg. He is trying to keep his community calm in the wake of a potential disaster and bring a spiritual perspective.
There are circumstances and things that happen in the course of nature that really, I don't think, deflect away at all from the goodness of God or for the love of God for humanity. You know, when people ask me, why do we have so much water? I said, because we had so much snow. Snow melts, and if there's a lot of it, it turns to this. And one of the things that I'm reminded, I think one of the most powerful testimonies of faith in Scripture is the testimony of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who made this statement with regards to the fiery furnace, that bottom line was this: whether they were protected or not, it would not change their faith in God. And if our faith in God is simply based on all the circumstances of our lives being right, then we're subject to all the circumstances, you know, and our joy factor is going to be limited or based upon that. Just over the now field of water is the town of St. Agath, which is now flooded. People there had to walk away from their homes. Even for them, I think it's a reminder that there's some temporal things, and not only are they temporal, their physical, natural things can be replaced, but we've had no loss of life. And if you fly over here and take a look at the devastation and realize that we haven't had any loss of life in this particular area, it's something to be thankful for.
One of our civic authorities speaking with a faith perspective in the midst of a great difficult time. David and Deanna Waters are with us. David and Deanna. Encouraging,
yes, that's important.
But you know, in your own mind, it's amazing how we look at life. We want things to be instant. I mean, I've noticed how I've been even regarding the flood. You know, we're hitting the peak today.
Yes.
Okay, well then tomorrow everything's over.
That's right. Yeah.
I know that, and that's not the situation.
No, it isn't. They have been thrown with so many unexpected twists and turns in terms of how the water is approaching the city that. It's not an exact science, but I think they're doing a remarkable job, and giving us the advice. We don't always like what we hear, and some of it is amplified a little bit out of context, and we have to sort of sift through until we get the real truth. And isn't that like life, though?
It sounds an awful lot like things that we go through when we hear something. I remember when our kids were teenagers and you'd hear something and say, oh man, you know, our world's coming down around us. And later on you'd find, no, it isn't quite what we thought. But
that's right.
I wanted to, for people outside of Manitoba, or well, even for Winnipeggers to know, you live where? I mean, let's get this straight.
Yes, okay.
We're on a peninsula. It's a lovely little place. We've lived there for 25 years, and really the water has not been a threat. There have been sandbags before. It's never come near.
Okay, you live on Kingston. It's called Kingston Crescent, Kingston Row. You on the row. You're just before the Crescent, at the very narrowest part of that peninsula, right where the R is for row.
That's right.
That's right. That's
where Dave and Deanna live, right off. In fact, I think that R is right on your house out there.
That's our house.
And when you look at, I mean, we've been at your home, and it's a beautiful. You live in. My dream has always been to live on the river.
Yeah,
I would sell you the house today, Willard.
And the price might be right. Okay, kidding aside. But anyway, so that this is a very real thing.
That's right.
It is, yeah.
It is a real thing, and I guess that's what hits you is, my goodness, this is for real. And we were going along pretty positively, and so thankful for the many people, friends, colleagues, people we hadn't seen in years coming out to help us sandbag, people coming from that didn't know us that would hear there was a need in that area, coming out to sandbag.
How does that make you feel? I mean, you know,
it's humbling.
It really is. It's overwhelming. The amount of response that I mean, Winnipeg as a community has always been known for its volunteerism, but this is going beyond it. This is a crisis situation for a lot of people. Those of us who live in the city may not feel it as a crisis situation, but certainly the people that lived out in the country spots, the people that have lost their lands and their properties, know that this is a real crisis. Here in Winnipeg, it's certainly a very important part of what is happening, a very serious part of what is happening, and we have to be concerned about it.
They're just showing pictures of your backyard up there.
Not too far away.
No, that's very close to.
It might be our house.
Well,
Yeah, but we're behind. You know, we're behind a dike, and the dike was on top of a permanent dike, and you know, hopefully things will be all right. But it's the maintained pressure on the dike that is the real problem.
Is the critical thing.
Yeah.
Okay, now all of this, now, and the volunteerism is an unbelievable reality. And as you know, we're Christians. We love Jesus, and we know that that's something, you know, giving to others is something that we should do. But a lot of people who respond aren't necessarily people from a faith community.
That's right, and it reminds you that God is everywhere and in everyone, and to see the beauty and to be thankful for everyone. As people have been reaching out to us, it makes me think, am I as loving and kind and generous and caring as they've been to us? To take stock of my own life, am I the kind of person that I really should be? You know, or could be, and on the material side, as your house is emptied out of everything, to almost feel relief.
No, you've really, like, it's been a mixture of feelings you've had,
up and down,
about all of this, because you've literally moved most things out of your home, haven't you?
That's right.
Yeah.
The thing is, I guess, you know, not just thinking about ourselves, but people that have already lost their properties and their material goods, and that is serious. Financially, it can be tough, and maybe the government will come through and provide some help, but it does make you realize too that material things are fleeting, and they really aren't important in the whole scheme of things, that it really is people. It's caring about one another, our families, our friends, our neighbors. There's a deeper relationship in life, and to be right with God, that we would want to be lifting ourselves up out of the despair of it and the fear of it, because it does hit you, especially when you see these kinds of pictures. One night I was hit with a spirit of fear, and I just had to really battle that through with scripture and prayer and talking to David's Mr. Calm, Mr. Serious.
Mr. Cool, I like
Not
that.
me. No. I'm up and down a little more. But I had to battle that one through and realize that as I read through the Psalms and so on, you have to lift yourself up to praise and thanksgiving and let go of the material things. Just let them go. If they're gone, they're gone. And we'll get through it.
Yeah, but there is a sense of actually releasing, isn't it? I mean, if they come back, that's great. But in a sense of having to say the worst case scenario.
I mean, I just, in a way, it could be a relief thing to say to the bank, it's yours. I'm out of here. I'm off to a little grass shack in Hawaii or something, you know. But yeah, it does bring it all in perspective. One of my concerns is that there would be a call to prayer across Canada to really pray with compassion. Not with judgment, but with compassion for people.
Is there a danger that we pray with judgment?
I think so, of saying, oh, well, this is God's reason, he's sending this because, or whatever. It maybe is, I don't know. I don't pretend to understand why a flood like this happens. But I think that our call is compassion, to care about the people that are suffering or could be, for wisdom for people to know when God calls you to higher ground, where is it? Physically as well as spiritually, you know, that we would turn. Now, David and I are going through this turmoil of even where we are right now is behind a permanent dike. We might have to move again.
Yeah, because you're in a temporary setting that isn't necessarily secure. I mean,
that's right. So we just kind of got that word today, and so then we think, okay, where do we go from here? But we have to be careful. We're not so caught up in ourselves that we're not caring about other people. You know, that there's always someone in greater need than you are. And we have to lift ourselves up above our circumstance as well.
See the bigger picture, and
exactly.
You know, what is our calling in life? And it's to continue to give, isn't it? It really is.
And it's not always easy to do that when you're in circumstances like this either, too, because you do tend to worry about what you're doing and taking care of your own needs, that you do sometimes all too easily forget the needs of people who might have greater needs. And there's a lot of them in the community right now.
Right. So prayer is an important thing, just being sensitive to others, saying and asking the question. I believe as we ask the question, we may find that the Holy Spirit will guide us as to where we can reach out, where do we talk, who do we talk to.
Just for people to know, like people would say they're in Vancouver, well, what can I do? You know, just phoning people that you know in this area and just say, we're thinking of you, we're praying for you, how are you doing? We've had people calling from all over North America, people we haven't heard from in years, relatives we haven't heard from in years calling us and just saying, you know, I heard about it and how are you doing? And just want, you know, we care. Well, it just lifts you up and you think, yeah, okay, I can handle this. Because there are times when you read the newspaper, it doesn't sound really promising and you just, your heart kind of falls and you think, okay, gee, maybe this is really serious. Because you want to believe the best, you're praying for the best, you're praising and doing what you can to bolster your faith and walk in faith. And yet I think of Peter when Jesus was out there in the water and or on the shore and he told Peter to come out to him. So Peter did. He had the faith to jump out of the boat and start walking across those awful waves towards the Lord. And then he saw the waves and he panicked and he started to sink. And the Lord said, Peter, keep your eyes on me. And that's what can happen. You read the paper, you watch a newscast, and you see those waves, and they're real waves.
They are.
These are real waves.
It's real.
And you want to sink, and then you have to look up again to the Lord for your salvation, but also you want that for everyone else. It's not just for yourself. You want all your neighbors, you want the people in the greater Manitoba to be safe and be picked up and safe.
Yeah, no, and we need to. We need to trust the Lord for that. Now, what about disruption? I mean, your lives have been disrupted. Does it make you aware of the disruptions around? I mean, do you become sensitive to disruption?
Well, just in in the paper, some of the firms in Winnipeg are laying people off periodically because they're, you know, everything's on hold. So people financially in other ways are being hurt. I think the young people. One, our youth have been marvelous in sandbagging and helping.
Absolutely wonderful.
The younger children could be affected psychologically in the disruption of going from home to home, being taken out of school, maybe going to another school for a bit where they don't know anybody. Because if the worst case scenario happened, we could be out of our homes for a couple of months. So for then our young people, this can be a real time of trauma for them. Yeah, there's disruption, and financially, people can be very much affected.
Yeah, it's being sensitive. And may the Lord grant us sensitivity to be an encouragement. You know, Betty was telling me about what she experienced as a child, being disrupted out of her setting. She was moved out to a rural area and spent a couple of months out there because their home was the water was pretty well up to the second floor, I think, in the home that she lived in as a child. In Winnipeg. I mean, one of the communities that, by the way, got the notification last night that it was behind one of the, one of the dike areas and could be vulnerable again. But what she said was that the difficulty she experienced was that the community she was sent to, the children did not accept her. Like she was now an intrusion into their area. She felt very left out. She felt as though, nobody cared. And although the adults cared, and I thought that is, so much like the way we are. If it didn't ever affect my life, don't you affect my life now. Yeah. But to open our hearts and say, yes, I want to be affected by what you're going through. And I think in many ways, our example here is Jesus Christ, and our Heavenly Father. God was comfortable in heaven. Everything was great, but he says, no, I choose not to be comfortable as long as mankind is living under the turmoil and the flood of sin and the devastation that sin brings. It says, for God so loved a world that he gave his only begotten son, his only son Jesus, to come and enter into that world and take on the pain, the misery, the difficulty, the disruption, I mean, of what living in a sinful world was. I mean, Jesus came to be, and God identified with it. I mean, we got to know that God was feeling the sorrow, the pain, and everything that we were feeling because he chose to identify with. And I believe that's the highest call. You know, if we want to know what the call of God is, it's to identify with those that are suffering. You know, Paul, you know, says, I've learned that with the compassion I've received from God and the care and the comfort I've received, I extend that to others. I want to be out there extending and being a part of someone. If someone's going through pain, I want to experience his pain. I want to live with him in his pain so that I can bring the comfort that God's able to bring. But if we don't identify with, we can't bring the resource that God's got. I mean, how can I bring peace to someone that's in turmoil as I enter into his turmoil and say, but God's peace is with us?
That's right.
Not just with you, with
That's
us
right.
in our turmoil. You see, it's the us part of it, and that's something I believe God is going to give us a bigger picture of his ability to come and help us to identify with those that are struggling in whatever their pain is.
That's right. And then to sensitively be able to help bring them up, because we certainly realize we need to be around positive people like you to help us, you know, to help us to not just see what is in reality around us, but rather see the bigger picture of God in it, and that whatever happens, he is with us in it. He'll see us through it.
Yes.
We will have the victory in it.
Yeah.
However it
comes along.
However it comes about. Now, it doesn't mean we shouldn't be wise and ask for wisdom what to do, but we need to I know myself, I need to be rising up into prayer and thanksgiving and seeing the good that can come out of disaster.
Yeah, now, you were actually given a verse by the Lord on 2 Chronicles 20.
Oh, yeah.
I'll let you get into this, because this could be a good preaching going on.
And I have to admit, it was through a cousin from Swift Current who called.
Well, bless her heart.
And a real woman of faith from 2 Corinthians 20, 2 Chronicles 20 and 21, where Jehoshaphat and the people there were being, a vast army was coming upon them. And they were told to trust in the Lord, that he would fight the battle for them. And they sent out before them a praise troop, really, before the army. And really came against this force with praise, with thanksgiving, with faith that God can do the miraculous. And as we were talking with Donna about this, you're thinking, but this water's so big. But then God's big.
That's right.
And so that actually we can pray for God to hold back the waters, to help secure those dikes and honor the hard work people put into it. And yet we're dealing with a science, with nature, and so I'm not quite entirely sure how to pray. I really am not. But I do see, and as Donna shared this verse, it really did register to me that we are to rise up in the midst of troubled times into praise, into trust, you know, into circling the city. And I was happy to hear that your next guest is going to share some of that, of what has been happening, because it dawned on me we should be out there praying in the various areas of the city that God's protection would be there.
Yeah. It's neat, you know, it's seeing the big picture, which is, and the big picture is God looking down and being involved in our world. That's the biggest picture. I mean, I can see the big picture is the flood beyond Winnipeg. It's just coming around. But the bigger picture is a sovereign God who is a loving, gracious, good God who is able to, first of all, hear us and desires to hear us. And that overwhelms me, that God chooses and wants to listen to prayers. You know, he does. Secondly, that he chooses to intervene in the affairs of men. He's proven that time and time again, that he does intervene, that he does make himself known. You know, I believe that with all my heart. There are some people that believe God's just a good force out there, but I believe God is much more than that. That he has personality, and he has personhood, and he has care, and he has compassion, and he has love, and he's got strength, and he's got ability, and he's got resources, and he's able to speak. Right. And I'm glad that he's a God that still speaks. You know, he spoke over the waters and over the earth, and he created it. And he can speak over the waters that are on our land and disperse them. God can disperse the waters. He can make them go in ways that we don't know. I mean, beyond science. I mean, when we had the flood and he said we're never going to have a flood like that again. Thank God we're never going to have a flood like that. But somehow the natural is still subject to God. In spite of all of our laws, he doesn't usually defy his laws, but there are times he intervenes in spite of them. and moves beyond his laws. And I believe, you know, as a person of faith, I believe that. I believe God moves beyond that. He's able to do exceedingly abundantly beyond all that we can ask or imagine. And if you're a scientist, you can imagine things. Not with computer models, you can create them, but God is able to do something beyond even that. We know that happens in the medical world because there are times God intervenes in a body and does something in a body that science says we don't know how this happened, but it happened. And it's acknowledged. And we, for some reason, I can believe it in bodies easier right now than that flood. But maybe because we've seen the miracles in bodies. You know, you've seen someone where their body, you know, they were healed of a cancer and it's gone and it's not there. Well, but God can touch a flood too. I mean, one thing isn't harder for God than another. In my mind it is, but not for God.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, I think that's where we come from, is that we have these fears, but we know that God is in everything that's happening.
Yeah.
But we don't always understand the role that he is playing because we want him to play a certain role.
We're calling the shots.
Yeah, we're trying to call the shots, and it doesn't work that way. No. And we just have to trust in him. That's basically what the situation calls for, is trust and belief and faith in God. And if you do that, you'll be able to deal with it a little better, I think. But it's easier said than done.
David, and I acknowledge that, and whatever, like, we go through those times, and I'll be the first to say, yes, it is a war. It's a war in me that faith would come out ahead of fear and doubt.
Exactly, yeah.
It's a war.
Yeah.
But I'm glad I got him on my side when it comes to that.
That's true.
Okay,
That's
well,
true.
may the Lord grant peace to you and courage. I love the courage that God brings, and I see it in you, and may he continue to bring his peace and his courage and just his confidence to you in the midst of this.
Thank you.
We bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate your care about this situation.
Well, bless you. Okay. We'll look to talk to you. God is faithful. Betty, thank you for that prayer. Amen. You agreed with her, didn't you? Didn't you get right in there and say, yes, yes, yes? I amen out here. I'm trying to be quiet about it, but I just want to say yes. Keith Miners is with me. Keith is a pastor, associate pastor at Gateway Christian Community.
That's right.
Bless you.
Good to see you, Willard, again.
Well, yeah, we don't see each other too often, just at least once a day, though.
Yes.
The last while.
That's right. That's right.
Let's talk. I just want to talk about that just a bit, because there are some things happening, and I know it's happening in a lot of other ways as well. But you're a group of pastors that are, and here I'm going to let you go with it.
Okay. Yes. We have a regular pastors' meeting once a week on a Monday, but we've really wanted to respond to the flood. Encouraging people practically to get involved in sandbagging and helping and sharing. But as pastors, we feel a real responsibility for the spiritual life of the city and of the province. And we feel there's a role which we can play, which few other people can play, and that is to pray for the city, for the province, and be active in our prayers, to pray with wisdom and insight and understanding